would you like to know how to live your best life today, not in the future? Stick around and find out. Welcome to another episode of Live, Love, and Marry Wizerr, where our mission is in our name. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, but with all thy getting, get understanding. And we plan and we pray and we prepare so that you can get that for your life, your love, and your marriage. Today, we are going to tell you more about how to live wiser. Start living your best life today. That's what we're talking about. And we have an amazing guest who is going to be joining us that we are super excited about. Onita, how you doing, my friend? You're muted.
I need to unmute. I'm silly. I'm doing silly. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Happy to see you. I know you've already been back, but it still feels like you're on vacation a little bit just because I couldn't believe you were fully on vacation. But happy that we're both here, still glowing with our vitamin D suntans we've got from being outside. So I'm happy and I'm excited about tonight's episode.
All right, me too. But before we get to that, I want to share an opportunity that I have for my viewers, and it is called the Fulfilled and Fabulous Challenge. It is 100% free, and if you click on the link that is starred there, it's a 7-day challenge on how to live your best life in a different way. We're going to talk about health and holistic health today, but to live your passions and your purpose and just prepare for that partner you desire. That's my mission statement. But I think that so many women really make poor choices because they don't love the life that they have when they are single. And so singleness is like a prison. It's something they're trying to escape. And when that happens, then anyone with a key will break you out of it. And so then we kind of don't always make the best choices. And so my goal is to really help women to embrace the place where they are right now, whatever that status is, and live it to its fullest. God has a purpose and a plan for you. What is that? Live that. And in that, also be preparing for the partner that you want. You can't are you the one that you're looking for is even looking for? He might be out there ready, but if you are still trying to deal with some of your stuff that is obviously needing to be dealt with, then you're not going to attract that person. And we have a whole lot of episodes talking about the things that you need to be doing, and we'll have many more. And today you'll learn some more things that you can do to just live better and live. So I really am excited about this challenge. It is, I should show you what that probably looks like there. And so that you can just see the slide here. But if you click on that link, you will get that. And then every day you will get like less than 3-minute video from me, as well as what you need to do that day for the challenge. And so I would love for you to sign up. If you know, so you don't even have to be single to sign up for this. It's actually quite something you can, almost everything in the challenge. If you're married, you can do it. Even if you're a man, you can do it. So it's not just for single women, but obviously it was targeted toward them. And so I would recommend anybody to go ahead because it really has some good stuff in there. And so I hope that you will take advantage of that by clicking the link that is in the comments right now and also in the description.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said that for anybody, because I was like, is it just singles? Just women? You answered that. I'm like, my daughter's about to go back to college. I'm like, what's the age limit? Can I tell her to sign
Oh
up?
yeah, no, absolutely. Her and all her friends. Her and all her friends.
Yes.
Man, it's really good. And I'm really proud of it. Technology, I don't want to say it's not my thing. I am able to figure things out, and I'm in this group that actually showed you how to like walk you through on a webinar how to make a freebie, and then they just teach you. So I was able to do this. I'm super excited about that. It looks really nice, and some of the stuff I've done in the past has been like a little shaky. But hey, Taylor. A former guest of this program. Nice to see you. So I'm actually going to let that be my update for today, that we are trying to live our best life.
Yes.
We are making better choices. I am doing what I need to be doing to walk in my purpose in just a different way. I had a speaking engagement on Sunday at a summit for singles, and it went fantastically. And I got another speaking engagement from that one. And then I have a small one tomorrow that I'm going to be presenting. That's going to be more talking about this short course that I created from the book, which I haven't talked about in a while. Pray It Forward for Women Who Choose to Fight on Their Knees.
Yes.
It's actually a short course related to that book. And so on the platform, they allow you to spotlight your course. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing that, and I should put the link of that course because the course is free, and I should put the link of that for anyone in our audience who would like to test that out. It's like 15 minutes. It's not going to take up a whole bunch of your time, but there actually are hundreds of courses on there. Many of them are free, and some of them are low cost, $5 up to 5,000 probably, but once you're in the platform, you can learn everything. Talking about holistically learning and just living your best life. There's topics on professional development, race, relationships, spirituality, all these different things. Mm-hmm. So it's just a great platform to be on. But I will find that as we're going through, and I'll add that. So just trying to live my best life here, Onita.
That's awesome, Lorraine. I'm so proud of you. Like getting the summit, first of all, the first summit of many, because I'm excited to know that you got a speaking gift from that there will be more. Mm-hmm. And just to see you spreading your wings, trying new things, figuring out stuff. You've been, for those who have a problem with like accountability, Lorraine has made sure she kept herself accountable, but various coaches, dating, business. So because we all need help, right? So I'm so proud of you. And I'm so excited to see how the fruits of your labor is actually still, you're seeing it come to pass, and how things are just going to get bigger and better as you continue to do the preparation, the planning, preparing, and praying. So I'm excited for you, girl. I'm happy for you, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, speaking of coaches, one of mine and one of ours is here today, and we are so excited about it. He was supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago when I was in Trinidad, but I decided not to work, and the internet was really not working. So that all kind of worked out. And so we are here today, and I just want to welcome to the stage now our friend and our coach, Justin Blyden, the veggie keto coach. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Lorraine. Hey, Juanita. How are you guys doing?
We are doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me. I am excited to share whatever you have me sharing today. It's gonna be, just take notes. That's all I gotta say, because it's a lot. But hopefully this is digestible and understandable, and just open your mind to it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, our minds are already open because we already know and love you. I was telling him, Onita, yesterday when we were doing our tech test that Ebony coined the little phrase BJ and AJ, before Justin and after Justin.
Yes.
How our group talks about the things that we do and the decisions that we make is like, oh, that's a before Justin move right there. So, so we're trying to live after Justin. We're trying to live after Justin. Sometimes I slip into before Justin for sure. But
me too. I'm trying to. Day by day.
So we are happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. We do have some links in the chat. We're going to start right off and drop those links early so that you can find out. But Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. And as you're doing that, you can tell us about your programs. But also, I'm just going to drop this question right up front. Tell us a little bit about where you were and then how you got to where you are.
Great question. And first of all, I always like to give glory to God because I do have a message, but I believe that he gave it to me. And you'll hear some things about me that you'd be like, you? Yeah, me. I used to not, adhere to all the word of God. But so how did I start? Let's take it back to probably around 6 or 7 years ago. That's where I think I had this awakening in my mind of where I was and where I wanted to be, and I could not see that bridge. I was like, well, how come I'm always feeling this way? Everybody's running these marathons and they feel great. That's them versus me is what I used to think. Mm-hmm. But I started corporate America when I was in 2012, when I was about 28 years old. And that was a continuation, I feel, of like my college years. My college years were basically just play, do some work. And I didn't really have much of a direction. But that included drinking, including, social gatherings. It included smoking weed. It included a lot of different things that were not beneficial for my lifestyle. It wasn't serving me. Mm-hmm. When you get into corporate America, it's kind of the same thing, except for things shift a little bit. There's a lot of cope that goes on when you're under a lot of stress. And you guys maybe relate to this. If you have stress, may not be alcohol, may not be smoking pot to kind of calm you down. It may be other things, maybe other sedative, eating. It may be like Netflix, just let the stream wash over you, right?
Yes.
Anything that you can get your hands on to cope to not feel that impact of the stress you're going through in your life. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I started there where I was just going. I did not pick my head up. I was so enthusiastic and felt so blessed to be there that I went my hardest and I stayed up late. And that kind of carried over from college too. It wasn't like a bum or anything in college.
Yeah.
But that work ethic carried over where I was up late nights and trying to get ahead and be seen and be noticed, make a name for myself. Mm-hmm. And that was all well and good until I realized some things started showing up. So insomnia was the number one thing, obviously. I could not sleep. And if I did sleep, I wake up at about 2 or 3 a.m. And then I'd be like, well, guess I'm up. Might as well do some work. Right. Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of people experience that because we'll talk about why that is. But other things, I had bad skin. Like right now, I am very proud of
you do have great skin. I always notice that.
My glowing skin. I mean, it wasn't always like, it was always weird and had weird clusters of acne. And it was splotchy and I had bags under my eyes often, swollen eyes. I was like, man, I thought I was young, 20 something. I thought I was doing pretty good, but my health wasn't in check. So that was another bad thing. I had problems building muscle. I didn't understand what that was about because I was eating meat, like everybody said. Like I was taking protein powders like whey, and everybody was like, "Well, you just got to eat meat. You got to start eating more beef. You got to start eating more milk and dairy." And I did. Didn't work. What did happen? So I had a really wrecked gut, and of course, just so you know, I was a video producer, so I'd edit long hours of the night. So that's me sitting at a computer with drink on one side and a pile of snacks on the other side, and just and that I got the job done, but the damage was just piling up on you, you know. So that led to sinus issues. I had reoccurring sinus problems, and I had to constantly go into the what do you call it? The not the emergency room, but the urgent care.
Every care, yeah.
Yeah, they gave me what's called a Z pack a few times, and I said, "Well,
Yes.
what's this? What's this Z pack?" And they said, "You know, it's just a cocktail of things." And I was like, "I don't want to stay on this," but they told you had to stay on it, and I was constantly there, so I started kind of worrying about what that was doing to me. Um, Other things, I had a terrible diet. Obviously, I was eating pizza and junk food and jelly beans. That was my thing.
Oh wow.
Jelly beans and Mike and Ike's. That was my go-to. And my teeth paid a price too, but paid a price. But that was my thing. And then I started realizing, and this is what most people start realizing, is you don't realize it until you can see it and feel
Yeah.
it. So I started developing this ring around my stomach, this unusual bicycle tire, as I call it in my book.
Oh,
Spare tire.
okay. I thought you meant like a ringworm type situation.
Oh no.
I was like, okay.
That would have been a different type of worry. I would.
Yeah.
No ringworm, but definitely spare tire. So
Yeah,
you know,
I see.
and for people that don't actually look like they have weight on them, it's what's called skinny fat. So you think that you're actually not fat, but you're not gaining muscle. You're weak. You're tired. You have that midsection weight gain, and it looks weird and muscle wasting. And so I started having that, and I was like, I don't want this to be me. I'm too young. Everything. So it was time to step it up a notch. And that thought process was always in the background. So I was running and I was doing all these things, but it didn't hit home. Like, what is the catalyst that set me on this journey? What is the actual catalyst? And I write about this story in my book, but was when I was on assignment, and I kind of was living, like again, late nights and just kind of frivolously and carelessly, I guess you could say. But I actually put myself and my other coworker in danger at this one event, and we had a golf cart accident. And I fell out one way, she fell out the other way, and she had a head injury, and I actually broke my shoulder. Didn't know I broke my shoulder until we took her into the emergency room, and the doctors said I was there overnight waiting with her. But I was in the waiting room, and I passed out from the shock of it.
Oh.
The nurse came in and said, "Hey, your friend's wants to see you." And I said, "Oh, where is she?" And she said, "Have you been looked at?" I said, "Nope." "Why?" She's like, "Let me take a look at that." And she looked at my shoulder, and the bone was sticking out.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, "Oh, snap!" Had the scans and everything. So that was the first time I'd ever broken a bone, and I didn't feel any of the pain. I guess I was in such shock from it or whatever. But I noticed I started worrying deeply because I use a lot of my body weight. I carried a lot of equipment with me on my shoots and things like that. So I was wondering, would I be ever to even hold a camera again? I couldn't lift anything up with this arm, and I had to stay long amounts of time in a sling. But that wasn't what really got me. What really got me is after the fact. When they put me in the sling and then they had me on medication, that's when I said to myself, "Oh no, this is going to be a problem," because I started feeling myself losing reality in the passage of time. I'm talking about the opioids they put you on. This is before and after the surgery. I really started. I was sitting there healing for like 6 weeks, playing video games, and like time would just pass away. It would just get absorbed, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm gonna get addicted to this stuff if I'm not careful." There's nothing
Wow.
else to do.
Yeah.
And I understood how people can get addicted and how your liver can get ruined from it because it's like you're feeling something that won't stop and you don't know when it's going to stop, and you don't have a trajectory for your future, and there's all this stress, and you just pop the pill and everything feels okay. And then a whole day passes, and it's like I told myself, I never want to touch that stuff again. So probably around week 5 or 6, I stopped all of the medication just to see if I could get off of it. And because I was taking medication, I couldn't drink anything. So I didn't drink any alcohol. And during that time is when I actually had, I guess you could call it a moment of clarity. where I was like, I'm spending all this time playing video games, and I'm getting my mind back, and I'm started reading and searching. How do I heal my bones? Like, is it possible to heal my bones? Is it possible to heal my liver? And I started digging and researching and studying. And not only that, but I had realized how far I'd come from God at the same time. It's a spiritual thing as well. And I started studying the Word of God again. And I started studying the Gospels and started studying John. And I remember it all just like came to a point where I felt like I was returning to what I knew, because I was raised in the church. I was raised to not, poison my body and to trust in God. But you kind of nibble, like they say, there's a sheep that nibbles on the grass and they move farther and farther away.
Yeah.
That was my story.
Yeah.
So I remember one day I was sitting there with that sling on. I was getting my mind back from all the opioids, and I was watching the Gospel of John on Netflix. It's this show. It's like the visual representation of the Bible played out. It's just one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. I don't think it was the drugs. I think it was. I think I was literally the Holy Spirit. I didn't know it was. I'm just,
Yes.
Yeah.
But after watching that movie, I hit my knees and I gave my life back to God. And I said, I don't care what it takes. I want to be on a new path, and I want you to show me what you want me to do. And I said, that's it. That was the time. I remember that so clearly. And I remember feeling so renewed, and I wanted everybody to know. So what I did was I had this, was it Israel Houston and the New Breed? I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was listening to his album, Covered, I think it's in Asia.
Yes.
Opening I think I was on the second or third story, opening up my windows and cranking that album up so everybody could hear it. I was like, I played, worldly music for so long. I let everybody hear this for so long. Let them hear this. Let them hear the gospel. How about that?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't care who knew it or heard it. And I was just like, I felt that fire,
Yes.
So
that's good. I think, can I interrupt you just to say that even though we haven't gotten to like the 5 steps or however many, I almost feel like that's the first step to live this life, is to give your life to Christ or back to Christ if you've never done that.
100%.
So that's absolutely amazing, because it leads to everything else that I'm sure you're going to talk about as well.
100%. That would be number one, is if you can't do it alone. And you can try to do something on your own, but giving your life back to Christ, he's the one that actually carries it and gives you that trajectory. Like, I didn't know where I was supposed to go. Like, am I supposed to just continue on this path? Like, what am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? And I was just so infatuated and so absorbed and obsessed with what am I here for? You made me, you saved me, you brought me out of darkness into your marvelous light. What do you want me to do with my life? And I remember praying and praying and praying on that. And I mean, all I started doing was living better. Literally, as I gave my life back to God, I stopped drinking. I stopped partying, stopped going out. It started with the Halloween stuff. I just cut that out completely because we used to have really huge Halloween parties. And I stopped having them. And everybody's like, we're not doing that this year. If I can't even just cut out that one day, the most like a wicked day that there could possibly be in the year, I said, let me start there. Let me see how I feel. And it really had an impact on people. I did not know that it would have such an impact. But cut that out. And then I gradually started cutting out weekends. And then I stopped buying wine because, you go from like liquor to wine and beer. And then you have a little mixed drink here and there. You kind of go in reverse.
I don't actually, that is not my lived experience, but I do understand what
you understand the best. For those of you that
understand the
concept. And you literally have to just drink whatever's left out of the house. And I did that until the last bottle. And I said, you know what? I'm not a drinker. I am not a drinker. I don't drink. So I popped the cork, poured it down the sink, and I started telling my friends, I'm not a drinker. So I can still come hang out. I'm just not a drinker. So I started doing that. And I would still have fun and, figure out new things I can drink at the bar versus alcohol. But that was a huge one. That was like my stamp. I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. What can I do? So I started running more, joining 5Ks, biking. Bicycling was a huge one.
That's a
brought me
big shift.
Yes.
I
going
stopped
from
drinking and
zero
I
to
started running 5Ks.
yeah.
Okay.
I literally started biking to work. That was my thing.
That's
And
cool.
that's like extreme, but I said, I just want to live different. I want every day to count.
Hmm.
And so
Yes.
biking to work, I started making better connections at work and all kinds of cool stuff. 5K opened up new avenues with different types of friends instead of just my drinking buddies. So as life continued a little bit onwards, people started paying attention to my lifestyle and they said, well, what do you do to maintain? What did you do to start? And so I remember over the course of one holiday, I think it was 2017, 2018, I asked a coworker asked me, and I told her I'll write it down for you. So I wrote her 10 things that I do to like 10 commandments of being healthy, right?
Awesome.
And
Get your notepads.
yeah, those 10 things over the next 6 months turned into my book. And it just kind of
Awesome.
chronicles the day in the life of where you are, where you want to be, and how to
Mhm.
bridge that gap, little things you can do. So I have 8 things. I've already mentioned one of them, which was put God in the fight first of all,
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
and I call these the golden rules of change your mode.
Can you talk a little bit about your book before you get into number
Sure.
2? And
So
we'll
my book,
show that up here again.
yes, change your mode. So this is I don't think it's as detailed as the program that I do, but what it is basically my testimony in the first part. You'll notice, and it's like when you hear mode, you think of like maybe I don't know what you think about, but it's like a gear or a transition or
Yeah.
a computer program or something.
Hmm.
Changing your mode is literally changing your software, the way that you think, the way that you run. The way that you run right now, you're on a different. Everybody's on a different paradigm. The way you see the world, your worldview. Changing your mode is the first thing I saw the word when I first started writing this book. It was called mode, just MODE. I just remember having a vision of it, and I saw those words, and I wrote it down, and I said, okay,
Hmm.
that's the name of the book. Then it became change your mode because I thought, it's more about lifestyle and the paradigm and everything. And I went through several iterations of it, but this volume became like more complete. It's a changing of how we see the medical system, how we see food, how we see even like the conspiracy of packaged foods versus whole foods and organic foods versus non-organic foods, GMO. It talks about all these things that food, and I call it the conspiracy of food. It was another working title that I had. Conspiracy of food sounded too controversial, so I left that alone. But now, it probably 2024, it probably sell like crazy.
Yeah. And
But
the link for the book is in the chat right now, so you can click on that and get it at his website.
absolutely, you can get it on my website for free, the PDF, if you'd like. Also, you can get it at changeyourmode.com. If you'd like to support, there's a paperback version, and you can buy that on Amazon. And of course, the paperback I made it in really big letters, so you can actually take notes next to the book. And you will go back to it over and over again.
I
And
got mine.
yeah, it's easy to read. People tell me that they read it in like 2 hours.
Yeah, I read it in a couple hours.
Yeah, it's that simple. And then it's just something to spark curiosity in you. Everything I do, I tell you, and my clients as well, is always do your own research. And that was a bad word in the last 4 years. And I'm like, if you don't do it, if you don't start with yourself, I don't know what you're going to do your research on, because
Yeah.
that's your body. You have access to you're the only one that should have access to your body. And if you allow somebody to do anything with your body, you should know what they're doing at least.
Yes.
So I always say, do your own research. Like if you don't know the name, the term, the Latin of something, the way the doctors kind of use this foreign language on things, ask them. And if they don't give you enough, I say ask them until you feel satisfied with the
Yes.
answer.
That's good.
And that doesn't work, YouTube it. Just go to town, and there's a ton of videos.
Love
And if it doesn't exist, make your own video on it when you find out. That's what I say.
Yes.
That's a good place. That's a place to start your own ministry if you are into that kind of stuff. But so
Okay.
that's the book. Does that help a little bit? Give you a little bit of
Absolutely.
background?
No, I really appreciate
Right.
that. Okay, so number 1, give your life to Christ, because you can't really do it all the way without him.
Yes.
There is no best life without him.
Right.
There's just the best life you can have without him. But there's no best life without him.
Yes.
So, okay, what's number 2?
Number 2. And by the way, the relationship you have with God dictates the relationship you have with yourself. So if you know where you come from, you
Mhm.
understand why your body is so important, and why you should treat it like a temple. You should. The Bible says to do that, but we often do not, and we reap the benefits of this world, which are short term at best. Quick fix, instant gratification. We reap those benefits right now, and then the next, we don't realize how 40 years sounds. We have 40. Once we're diagnosed with something, usually in our 30s and 40s and 50s, we still have 40 years to go. Statistically, and by the grace of God. But you don't want to live those last 30, 40 years in misery on medication.
Right.
Don't want it. I'm telling you. So number 2, I suppose. Well, let's just. This is no particular order. I just like to share these. But read the nutrition facts. So everything you pick up to eat, you should be reading that. You should know how to read it. You should know what it means to you when you eat it, and you should become very excited about when you find what you want, because I do what's called a health food safari with my clients, my one-to-ones, and sometimes I'll take you shopping one-to-one. We'll go into Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, and we can look at what food is. So I say, what do you usually eat? They take me to the center aisles, of course, the center of the store. And they pick up boxes and cans and stuff like that. If you read that stuff, you'll understand why you feel the way you feel, because those foods are guaranteed to shut down communication in your body. I mean, I'm saying that in the most simplest form, and we'll get to that rule in a second. But once you read, that's the power you have, the power of your gates, your power to unlocking the gates, your mouth, your eyes, your ears, all your senses, is reading and understanding. And once you process that, you won't want to put that in your body, or maybe you do, but if you do, at least you know.
At least you know what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So for instance, carbohydrates, I always harp the heaviest on carbohydrates because we eat more carbs than we should, processed carbs in particular. But carbohydrates are just sugars, and sugars are good if it's combined with like fiber. So whenever you're looking at a good rule of thumb is, whenever you're looking at a food, just make sure that whatever you're eating is combined with a good amount of fiber. The total carbs, if you look at the carbohydrate section, minus the fiber equals net carbs. Net carbs are what's going to spike your insulin or not spike your insulin. So say for instance, if something says, only 3 net carbs. Well, you could take a look at it. It's probably got like 12 carbs and 9 grams of fiber and 12 carbs. So that equals about 3. So the biggest thing you can do is what they're telling you without telling you is combine your foods with fiber. What they have done with carbohydrates is they've removed all the fiber out of the process. So now you're just stuck with the refined white powdery stuff, which causes inflammation instantly. And I talk about inflammation a lot. And if you guys remember, do you remember anything I remember? What is inflammation? Do you remember anything about what that is, what that process looks like?
Well, not all the details, of course, but I know you said inflammation is good because it tells you something about what's going on in your body, but it's not good to keep it there. It's just alerting you that something's wrong. And almost all conditions are about inflammation somewhere. I think you said that.
Absolutely right. That's correct. Great synopsis. Inflammation is tissue damage. So the way I like to put it is, like she said, your body's always going through inflammation. Inflammation is how you heal. It's your body's response to either damage or anything that's out of order. Your body is constantly using inflammation. So if you get stung by a bee, if you get stung, you have a reaction that's inflamed. It becomes water's drawn to the place, heat picks up, pain goes off. And a lot of what do you call it, macrophages and internal immune system gets activated and actually goes to healing that spot. So that's just one thing that happens to you. That's one event if you get stung one time. But if you're constantly eating like that on the inside, you got to imagine your body swelling up and redness and stiffness and heat. All this stuff is happening on the inside from food. If you can start to think of it that way, it's not just food. It's not just junk food anymore. It becomes like, okay, this has a job to do inside my body. So chronic inflammation will lead to worse and worse conditions. Acute inflammation happens every day. It's completely fine, but you want to limit your inflammation day by day. A good way, and of course, we talked about some ways to do that. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But MSG, of course, those two things that I would say is watch your carbohydrates, your sugar, fiber content, MSG. So it goes by many different names, monosodium glutamate. It's flavor enhancers. It's modified cornstarch. It's hydrolyzed yeast. It's all kinds of different names it goes in. There's like 40 plus names for MSG. That alone is going to set you off your record of, whatever eating habits you have that are set. It's going to knock you off that path. It's just, that's what it does. It's going to draw a lot of water. It's going to spike your insulin, sometimes more than sugar, and it's going to set you off of your path. So if you notice it on the back, the order of the ingredients as well, the higher up on that list, of course, the more of it there is in there, the least that there is on the list, the less of it there is in there. So you want to look for ingredients that have 10 things or less, if that's possible. But if you read it and it has like all natural ingredients, that's a pretty good product. And you want to stick with that brand or research that brand and see what else they have, because you'll find like a whole treasure trove of like different types of foods that are packaged. But they do a good job of not processing it to death, which brings me to my other rule. But any questions on that one?
No question. That was pretty clear cut. I'm taking notes. I'm like, 10 ingredients. Okay.
10 ingredients are
my pantry.
Yes. And of course, you got to read them or spell them, right? If you can't spell it, then you probably shouldn't eat it. Most people don't think that way, but it's like, oh, they wouldn't put poison in it. What's red 40? What's that's not natural. What does that grow in?
Right.
Yeah. So if it has those,
well, you're not gonna have time to eat because you're gonna be researching all these things. That will get rid of some inflammation when you're doing some fasting.
Lorraine, let me tell you, when I first started this journey, that's exactly what I did. I'm the nerd that as I was eating what I prepared, I would watch videos about what that food does, with the benefits of that, because I really wanted to feel it inside and out. Like I'm nourishing my brain, nourishing the food. So I got to know all this stuff by really saturating myself with it. I wanted to know, okay, these beans are going to do what in my liver? Okay, and by this much time, how much is it going to clear up? And I wanted to know how it would make me feel, and the nutrition of it all was exciting to me.
That's awesome. So if the nutrition of it all is not exciting to you, you are welcome to reach out to Justin, because he will help you understand it. And ultimately, if you can just follow the instructions, obviously you want to understand and do your own research as well. But if you don't want to go that deep and you just want someone to help you, the link is in the chat. Okay, number 3, or are we on number 4? Number 3.
How about number 3 or 4? We'll combine those two. But also, I'm not the kind of coach that says none at all. I'm the kind of coach that says, okay, so you like Doritos? What other brand are there that's a little bit cleaner? I don't like to pull the rug out from under you. If you enjoy things, I mean, lifestyle is lifestyle.
I don't remember him saying that to us.
I don't either. I don't. So I'm all out.
I never remember getting permission to eat Doritos.
Well,
version of it.
So it depends on your level of commitment. Because if you are my one-to-ones, I'm pretty tough. But when it's an introduction kind of, I'm like, okay, let's take it easy. I'll meet you where you're at. I try to. But if you tell me you're ready, we're going all the way.
I'm kidding.
And then we work way back.
I don't really eat Doritos that much anyway. But I was just saying, I didn't remember that part. Okay, so
there are, so just a little bit of hint in the program. So we do kind of like a discovery and elimination at first. So what we did in the 2-week program is mostly discovery and elimination. What's making you inflamed, or what's a good substitute? So we discover these things that are what kind of problems you have, what issues you have, and then we eliminate them. And then we gradually bring it back in to your lifestyle. Because again, holidays happen, birthdays happen, all these things happen, but then the knowledge of what to replace it with is the next steps.
Yeah.
So you're right. We never got to the good
No, that's
stuff.
good. That's good, because I think that, just as someone who's worked with Justin, that he actually does identify what are your issues, and he doesn't, you tell him what they are, and then he helps to frame the program based on what your needs are that might be different from somebody else's needs, or medical conditions or medications you're on, or all of that. So we just wanted to say that. Okay, go ahead.
Good. All right, so the next one is I'll combine these two, the eat outside the box rule and the slow food rule.
Okay.
So kind of going with the reading nutrition facts, eating outside the box means if it comes in a package or if it's in a box or something, you just don't eat it. And that is the strictest way you can possibly eat, because as we know, everything comes in a box these days.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a good way a rule of thumb, and you'll hear this a lot from nutritionists, is don't eat anything in the center, the box in the grocery store. There's a center aisle. All that stuff is processed. And processed doesn't mean like technically bad. Processed just means it's away from its natural form. So even if it's like corn that's been ground up, that's technically processed. But if it's processed and bleached and additives and then yeah. And yet, they have numbers on the back of the bag, by the way, that say, "Are you happy with this product?" Have you guys ever called those numbers before?
Never.
The funny part is, if you call them, they'll give you more of the product if you're not happy.
Oh yeah, I think actually, I have seen that. Actually.
But if you do have a problem with, like, ask them, call and ask, like, call the number up and ask them. I noticed there's this 49XY, whatever. What is that, and what is the purpose of it in this product? You can actually do that if you're really conscious about what you're eating. The other way is just to avoid it. So I don't know.
Justin's telling you it's bad. So
yes,
it is bad.
Yes.
If it's got numbers in it, it probably can't be good.
Yeah. So Justin, you're saying stay on the outer aisles, eat the fresh produce.
Right. So fresh produce, if you were to stay in the fresh produce aisle, that's technically all you need, really. I add eggs to my diet. I'm not vegan, but I do eat vegetables, and eggs I use for as a substitute for meat. I use eggs, lentils, beans, those kinds of things. Now, dried beans, they're completely okay, and you'll learn what parts you can pick and choose. But I remember when I first started, when you start fasting, you guys try this. If you start fasting 24, 48 hours, and you walk into the grocery store, if you walk down the cereal aisle, you'll smell this overwhelming sugar. It'll hit you.
Yes.
And I was like, man, you can smell it through the box, through the packaging. You can smell that.
Wow.
Hyper processed food. Just try it. You shouldn't be able to do that, by the way. Your food, fresh fruits, just, what fresh smells like. But if you can smell sugar, that's like, how much is it?
Yeah, that's a little weird. But I will definitely try that, because we still fast every Sunday to Monday.
Yes.
Oh, good. Very
24
good.
hours, yeah. So
Good. Excellent habit to have. And that's one of my rules as well. But meat, even if you're a meat eater, if you're selecting meat, it's good to select your wild caught or your organic grass-fed meats. Same thing with eggs. That's a good way to approach it. If you don't want to eat meat, then that's what a coach can help you do, how to get off of it, because some people, they go from like meat eaters to vegan. And what happens is they have all kinds of other health issues that pop up, like their hair starts falling out, and they start getting constipation and all kinds of weird. You gotta pace yourself when you're going between lifestyles. So eat outside the box. That's not so hard, right?
Hmm.
And also it helps you to prepare your food for digestion, and that comes to the slow food rule. So those, the eat outside the box rule, the slow food rule, it helps you to prepare your body for digestion. So you can think of how God prepared food for us. Everything that's natural, you have to chew. You smell it, like you pull it out of the ground, you clean it off. Like I'm talking about, like beets or carrots and potatoes, beans, anything you have to work for. Oh, by the way, uh, you didn't do anything to deserve sugar. I didn't do anything to deserve sugar. And what I say by that is it's so available. It's insane how available it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If you notice, everything that's sweet in nature, you have to work for it.
Yes.
Sugar cane, you got to go into the fields and chop the sugar cane and peel the sugar cane and grind it down, and then you can chew on it, but it's also attached to fiber. Same
Hmm.
thing with like honey. If you want honey, guess what? You got to climb trees and fight bees, right? Like it's not free.
Hmm.
But for us, it's just so readily available. One, by the way, one spoonful of a honey or sugar or anything like that, it spikes your insulin. It just takes one spoonful to spike your insulin. So the average American has about 29 to 30 spoonfuls a day
Mercy, Lord.
of, of sugar. And we're talking about high fructose corn syrup. We're talking about fructose. We're talking about all these things, and that's per meal. We're not even talking about like condiments and everything like that.
Hmm.
So it's hidden everywhere, and we take full advantage of it because it's, again, that short term fix. So when we take the time to go to those aisles, the slow food rule, to cook our own food, to smell it, to prepare it, to enjoy it, your body, when you smell it, it triggers your brain to release in your stomach different types of stomach acids. So for meat, it's going to trigger acids to process meat. For vegetables, another kind of stomach acid for vegetables. You need that saliva also to break down those enzymes, because digestion starts in the mouth. And once you get it to your stomach, now you have a roaring furnace of acid, hydrochloric acid, which is the number one problem in my book. It's the gut. The father of modern medicine says
Yes.
all disease starts in the gut. There's a reason for that, because if it gets past your gut, or if your gut's too weak, it's going to start piercing the stomach lining and get into your intestines, and that's where a lot of inflammation and
Hmm.
autoimmune things start. You guys have heard of leaky gut before, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Uh, so when we're talking about the slow food route, it is saying, yes, prepare the food, but also you prepare your stomach. So, and I guess I can attach this to the no snacking rule. Yeah, I'll attach this to this no snacking rule. So that those are two rules. The no
I,
snacking rule is, I'm going to call that the fasting rule, or the no snacking rule, fasting rule. That is how you prepare your gut to be cleaned. So no snacking, we all do it. We're so, everything's so readily available. We kind of like, whenever we feel peckish or feel kind of low, we pop something, whatever's nearby, whether it's
Mhm.
nuts or Oreos or Doritos, whatever it is. We just we whatever's nearby. And for me, it was jelly beans. Like if I felt like I was in need of like a rush, jelly beans. Overworking my pancreas, overworking my liver. That's what we're doing to our bodies every single day, and completely annihilating our gut biome. So think of it this way: if you're thinking about your gut like a fish tank, I don't know if I told you this analogy before, but think about your fish tank as a muddy, filters are clogged up, and there's the life is hanging on by a thread in this fish tank. Someone's got to clean it, right?
Mhm.
Things just kind of happen, and you don't clean it, it's going to get all algae and all kinds of stuff in there. So the first thing you got to do is stop putting stuff in there. Like stop putting the food in there. Stop putting, whatever it is, any outside thing. Stop it. Just stop.
Mhm.
And you got to
Just stop it.
just stop. Then you got to empty it. You got to dump it out. Pull the cork on that tray.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
kind of like fasting. Fasting is allowing whatever's there to clear out. Is cleaning mode. But you have life in your gut too. You have about 7 pounds of bacteria in your gut waiting to eat. And you know what the number one thing that thing eats is, there's two things that are going to grow. You have
Sugar.
your bacteria that eats sugar, that's right. And you have the bacteria that eats fiber. And fiber make the good guys grow. Sugar makes the bad guys grow. Making it as simple as possible. But when you have an overgrowth of sugar, you're looking at candida, you're looking at bad skin, you're looking at blood balance issues, you name it. That's what happens. Whenever you start to feed it live fiber plants, then the good guys keep the bad guys in check. So just like that fish tank, after you pour it out, clean it, fasting, now you have to add in the clean water or the clean environment. So you make it friendly for your gut biome. So that's when you start influxing it with, after a fast, 24 to 48 hours, or, intermittent fasting. You guys have experienced that. And
yes,
I don't know if you love it or hate it, but
I love it now.
All right. Good. You do get to love it. It's just like, this is what we do. This is what we do. We fast for life. You're constantly, every time you fast, you're inviting the good bacteria to grow. And every time it grows, it needs something new to eat. So once you fast, every 24 hours, 48 hours particularly, you go through autophagy, your cells are cleaning and new bacteria is growing. Now it's like, okay, what do we eat? And if you have a bad gut, what's going to scream is the bad bacteria. It's going to put out chemical signals that are like, hey, don't stop the party, put more sugar.
Oreos.
Yeah, put them Oreos back in the party. But you have to fight that urge. You have to ask God for help. And like, Jesus, make me brave. I remember this kid on Instagram. He shouts out, Jesus makes me brave, and then jumps in the pool. Same thing. Just like a little child, we have to be like, Jesus, make me brave against my proclivities. What is it that's keeping me from the life that I want?
Yes.
So we put the greens to smoothies. You guys know that very well. We inundate the body. Oh, that's right. Tropical smoothie has the best ones.
Yes.
But you wash out your entire system. You're adding in this new environment for life. And of course, you want to stoke the fire too. So if historically you don't have really good stomach acid, you're going to want to add some betaine hydrochloride or apple cider vinegar. That's going to help to fire up that furnace, the hydrochloric acid. And of course, your body starts to adapt again. And that's one thing that has to be said, is I don't push vegan, I don't push carnivore. What I push is the idea that the body is adaptable. So we have people that are 600 pounds. We have people that are really, really thin, short, tall. We have all types of people, but the body is resilient. And it always wants to get back to its healthiest state. Always. That's how God designed it. If we can start to think about it that way, we have to think about, okay, what's getting in the way of that? Is medication getting in the way? Typically, yes. It stops processes. It manages the disease, which is not adding anything of value. It's just stopping a process like pain or something like that. So you have to ask the other question is what actually adds value? And that's the foods you eat, the nutrients that you're getting, supplements that you're getting that you're missing. Most likely it's a mineral content deficiency. Am I talking too much, or do you want?
No, I was going to ask you a question too. As we look at time, because we did do this too during the fast. I know I incorporated doing it more so. Well, with the 2 weeks program that we had, the 14-day program, how important is exercise for those who are watching now, who are making this shift? How important would you say, one, getting the water in, and two, also the exercise component of that as they choose to make this lifestyle change?
Great. You are right on schedule. So I guess I can combine those two.
Okay.
I have the movement and water piece, because those I think are come in tandem. By the way, I don't know if I said it, but 24 to 48 hours is your goal, especially when you're starting a new lifestyle. There's a way to do it. But when it's intermittent fasting, it's 16 to 18 hours, including sleep. So you sleep about 8 hours and you wrap that into the total time. And whenever you break that fast, you break it with the cleanest possible foods you can find. Healthy and high healthy fats, greens, healthy proteins, healthy amount of proteins, no junk food. If you do that, your body's going to adapt to this healthy weight. But it takes about 14 days for it to actually trust you again. Because it's like, is this for, are we doing this? As you said last time. And you gotta say, yeah, I mean it. This is happening. You gotta push through, because what I say, Lorraine, the first 4 days are the hardest, and the first
Mhm.
4 weeks are the hardest because your body's gonna want to bounce back to what we've trained it to do.
Yes.
Not by accident. We trained
Mhm.
it to act a certain way. Now we got to train it back in a different direction, and that's
Love
the fun part. We got to make
Mhm.
it enjoyable because we have to remember the next 30 to 40 years, how we want those days to go by.
Yeah.
So the next thing, okay, so mineral water and of course the DGVs. Those are something that I always pitch. And the reason why I say mineral water,
Oh, what are
mineral
DGVs?
dark green vegetable smoothie.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. For those
I
that
was
are,
about to jump in there. Thank you, Anita.
yes, the lingo.
Yes.
Dark green vegetable smoothies. We're talking about high veggie content, like your cruciferous vegetables, avocados, berries, and citrus, but no like the typical smoothie is like all fruits, like pineapples and
Strawberries,
mangoes,
bananas.
strawberries, the sweetest possible things.
Very delicious.
Very, of course, highly delicious. But if you want
But not the
to,
best choice, people. Not the best choice.
yeah, you can still enjoy it. Like if you were to go to like say, I think it's Planet Smoothie and ask for the berry smoothie minus all the other stuff, and then ask them to add in spinach and avocado. I don't think Planet Smoothie does. I think Tropical Smoothie does that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you ask them for it, you'll realize how delicious greens
Yes.
actually are.
It is
It's
good.
so refreshing. Potassium, magnesium, sodium, chromium. You need all these to activate your gut. So the mineral water helps with that as well. It's where electrolytes come from. Again, potassium, magnesium, sodium. All
And
these are
what is
electrolytes.
mineral? What is mineral water? How do you make that? What's
Right on.
that?
So most people think that you have to buy it in the green bottles, which you can. You can also buy it in springs. You can go to Florida. You guys are in Florida. You guys can actually go to the springs, and the water tastes so delicious down there. You can swim in the water and drink it at the same time. It's insane how nice that water is. But you can actually make your own. The reason is that those springs taste so fresh is because they're drudging up mineral content from the earth. You can make the same stuff with sea salt. If you were to take, I have a big bottle here that I keep filled. This is about 32 ounces. For every 32 ounces, I put about half a teaspoon of sea salt in it every single time. And if I'm really dehydrated, I put a whole spoonful of sea salt in there.
Mm-hmm.
Celtic sea salt's good, Mediterranean sea salt. Celtic's the best, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to keep your mineral content high because you are, if you have a high carbohydrate diet, if you have a stressful diet, if you have all this stuff, alcohol, caffeine, that's constantly pushing minerals out, and we're never replenishing that
Mm-hmm.
system. That's why our bodies are breaking down, because it pulls those minerals out of our bones and other organs. And we're sitting here feeling the worst we ever had, and we hate water. Does that sound right? And we hate vegetables and we hate water.
Right. My body's made up of so much of it. But
I
we don't
know.
Come on.
Great point. Made up of vegetables, made up of minerals, made up of water, and you hate it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go around hating yourself like that. You got to love yourself. Loving yourself starts with the smallest parts of yourself you can't even see. The way that you treat your temple shows how much you love yourself.
Yes.
And that's that you have a higher power. You have God above you that has told you this is a great way to live. Do you trust it or not?
Mm-hmm.
If you trust it, you'll do it and you'll see the benefit. If you don't, you'll live however you feel like you'll see fit, just like I did, and you'll reap those benefits too. You can't have it both ways.
Hey, Justin, can I
yes.
ask you a question here?
Yes,
That's a little bit off center, but how did you come to understand that about water specifically? Because I've done quite a lot of water fasting. I went to a water fasting center at one point, and I fasted for 21 days. And while I was there, someone asked the director about putting salt in the water or whatever. And he was just like, no, you don't need to do that. I don't believe in that. Now, we were in Costa Rica, and maybe the water is just better there or whatever. Didn't taste that great because it couldn't be cold or whatever. But of course, if you're drinking 14 glasses a day, it starts to not be so delicious. But 21 days. But so how did you come to just understand that? Because I know and I watch many people who do water fasting, and some people say yes, do minerals. Some people say no. So just kind of, where did you get your insight from?
Yeah. So number one thing I started looking at was my urine, actually. Like whenever you're wasting, actually, you know what got me started? It was, I watched a lot of survival shows, Naked and Afraid and like Bear Grylls and all this. Do you know those shows?
Yes.
I've heard of them. I've never watched. I've never felt compelled to watch Naked and Afraid.
If you want to survive, you want to learn
I'm
how to
already
survive.
naked and afraid.
That's all we're naked and we're just like here by ourselves, trying to make it. But if you study the way that they survive, survival skills, they'll sometimes boil or drink their urine. They'll sometimes distill their urine, which means they
Mm.
use a evaporation method. And I started researching. I was like, is it okay to drink your urine? Is that okay? And of course, I mean, they're surviving. How are they surviving? Well,
Yeah.
that's because all of the mineral contents in there, like there's a lot of uric acid and other things as well. Like a lot of waste is in there too. But if you're on a fasting journey, especially fasting, you're losing a lot of water that was attached to sugar. So there's a rhyme that I use where sugar goes, water flows, right?
Mhm.
So if you're losing sugar, I think it's for every 1 molecule of sugar, there's about 4 of water. So it pulls water out of your body. When you start to lose water, it's not just in your stomach. You're made of water, but you're also made of fluid. Like water is not just water as we know it. There's different parts of your body that require fluids, just like a car. You put like brake fluid or transmission fluid. They're different parts. When you start to fast, your body's losing all of that, and sugar is part of that. It loses it. So whenever you feel lightheaded, you feel headaches, you feel all these things. Sure, it can be toxins. Sure, it can be parasites. Most likely, though, it's because your blood volume is getting very, very low. And so to stave off that feeling, which most people they give into, they're like, "Oh, I feel lightheaded. I need some sugar," and you don't. You need electrolytes, and electrolytes they're inseparable from survival. You can't not have electrolytes, especially when you see these pH 9.5 waters. That's all alkaline. I'm like, yo, that's a lot of just washing out of your mineral content. So if you're not putting it in, you got to think of your body like a river, like a fountain. Whatever goes out, you got to replenish it constantly.
Alkaline water is not good to drink.
Not the way they do it. They put it like in these big bottles, and people eat while they're drinking water. So whenever you're putting in completely alkaline water into if you think about a furnace, if you were to throw like a big bottle of water on a fire, you're putting out the fire, especially if it's alkalized.
Okay.
What people think alkalized water is, they say you need to make your body more alkaline. Okay, what makes the body more alkaline is the question, not what alkalized water. That's usually done by electronics. But people drink the water, think that they're becoming more alkaline. What they're doing is actually putting out the fire, the hydrochloric acid. You need that fire to break down the mineral content. The minerals make your body more alkaline.
Okay.
Potassium, magnesium. That's where alkaline comes from. So like when they say eat fruits and vegetables, that's the problem. You guys want to hear something hilarious to me? And not hate, no hate, no hate. But as you start to study this, you're like, this is ridiculous. So carnivore people on the carnivore diet. It's taught like the biggest thing is like, oh, you gotta have just meat, no vegetables. No. Like, okay, good. I'm starting to overcome this and this and this. Okay, great. Because you're literally getting out of your body's way, and there is mineral content inside the meat. But the thing about eating things like red meat is that it actually makes your body more acidic. It's just the nature of red meat. It acidifies the body. To stave off that acidic effect, they have to add a base. They eat red meat and take supplements for the base instead of just eating your vegetables, which is the exact same thing.
Yes.
So I'm like, God is a genius. He already knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a fad. That's cool and all.
Yeah.
Say you only eat meat, but you got to take for a time. You got to remove some things out of your natural normal diet so the body can heal itself, and then to eat food in its full form is not a bad thing. To add vegetables back in is completely okay. You're not breaking any code or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. I thought that.
No, that is funny.
I can tell you
I
one
never,
thing too.
I never drank alkaline water because I was just like, yeah, I'm not really into all of those fads and stuff or whatever.
Yes.
So, but I did when you just said that, I was like, oh, let me ask that question because
Yeah, 100%. And I get it. Like you'll see people do fruit fast and do better than people that do water fast. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you are drinking just water, like say just faucet water, which is loaded with chlorine and fluoride and no mineral content, or maybe a little bit, but undistinguishable. If you are doing that and you're fasting, say you do a week of fasting, you're going to feel real bad and you're going to feel like bloated. And the reason is because your body's literally trying to hold on to what little minerals it has, what little electrolytes it does have. It's going to feel real crappy. You're going to come out the other end. You're going to come out alive because your body can survive it. But when I say add the mineral content, the electrolytes, it's so that you can survive, especially when you're just getting started, because your body's not used to that and your blood volume will drop dramatically. So to stabilize it, adding a little bit of sea salt helps. You can drink also Body Armor Light is good. Also coconut water if you're not doing a pure fast.
Yes, I love it.
But
Yes.
for those who want to go extreme, we just do sea salt in your water and some lemon juice and things like that.
Yeah, and you save money because that alkaline water is not cheap.
That's a grip.
Right.
Cheap. And I would tell you, we invested all this in the 32-ounce water bottle for everybody in my family, even my 5-year-old son. And like I was telling you guys, we walk around with it like the little boy in Charlie Brown's, like our blanket now.
Nice.
Everybody has it. Everybody's in the car. And you should hear them things if I'm driving. They're rolling, clanking each other.
I love it.
But everybody has it. But I've saved money on buying bought a bunch of bottled water, as well as I know the first time I did put this, the kids saw me putting the pink Himalayan salt in my water, and they were like, "What type of root you doing?" Like,
Oh my God,
what you doing, girl? But it's so funny. Then I look and I caught till my daughter's doing it too, and I was like, "Just 2 turns. That's all you need. 2 turns." And of the dispenser we have and using it, but I can really attest to the fact of going through the 48 hours, coming out day 3 of the fasting, and then kind of coming out, my body's looking like, what is going on? I'm missing some things because naturally I thought it was just the sugar, but it wasn't just the sugar. It was the other stuff, the good stuff I needed too. And how important it is if you're going to do something like this. It's great to have a coach that's going to guide you through it, have the plan already together. Here's smoothie recipes. Here are things that have protein and fiber that you need so that we can follow it, because you could go Google it, but also if you've already been doing bad and you need help, get the help, get it where somebody's already tried and true and has a plan there for you so that you're able to follow it. And definitely preparation. I struggled on the days I fell off if I did not prep my stuff before, like my smoothie stuff already in the freezer bag, or going to the store and buying the things I needed, because then you're just going to grab what's there or what's quickest for you. But tropical smoothie, as it did today, came through as well, because I'm like, oh, I can order my green detox smoothie or my avocado one, but say, they ask about sugar, you can say no sugar or naturally sweetened. Well, they'll do a date instead of sugar and stuff too. So and it tastes really good.
Good.
Yeah, it tastes really good. So you can definitely make the transition. It's not, I would tell you, I've tried drastic things before and then they don't last because they're just crazy.
It's crazy. And I get it. I mean, everybody's trying to sell something. And my thing is, if we do this right, if we're doing this right, I will never have to see you again. And then you take what you've learned and you roll it into your own lifestyle. You create it, you make your own thing, and then teach somebody else, because it becomes so, you're like, oh, of course. It's just very intuitive. You understand this is what my body's asking for. It's not actually screaming for starches, or it's not screaming for carbs. It's actually screaming for the real nutrients, which are your potassium and your magnesium. And it's actually being pushed out of your body, which leads me to the exercise piece. And on top of everything else, the caffeine and the stress and the medications pushing these minerals out, exercise will do that too. And as I always say, when you taste your sweat, it tastes salty. That's how you know that you're made of minerals, because you're leaking all these minerals. And whenever you're sweating, like say for instance, people get started on a health journey, right? and they're like, I'm gonna go back in the gym, and they spend like an hour and a half, and they feel dead the next day. Like they can't even get off the couch or bed, whatever. Because whenever you're working out, for every hour, you're sweating out about 70 ounces of water every single day. Let Justin know I've lost 12 pounds and my joints feel great. Yes.
Yes. Eva, the
Awesome.
walking diva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's perfect to hear. But with the exercise, especially when you're stressed, especially when you're just starting out or starting back and you're not in shape, just be honest with yourself. And don't. That's the number one.
I'm not in shape. Just be honest. my name's Lorraine, and I'm not in shape. No.
There you go.
Actually, it's just that easy. It's just that easy. There's no judgment. I mean,
you get in shape, you get out of shape, and you get back in shape.
Yes,
that's lifestyle. But
it actually doesn't even take that long. You know,
right.
I mean, I've been at the gym quite a lot and walking and stuff, but I'm just saying, like, you're right. It's just like, okay, don't be trying to act like you've been working out for the last 3, like you haven't worked out in years. Stop it.
Slow down. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And when I say slow down, I mean like your base exercise is walking.
Walking.
If you're going from 0, walking is going to feel like 60 because it's just more than your body's used to, but it's still a stress on your body. But it's a little bit better on your gut. It's better on your mind. It's better on everything. Stress is going to reset your hormones. Walking is the most underrated of exercises.
Yes,
it takes longer to reach your goal, but it's the most consistent thing you could possibly do. And you would not believe what you can do in, well, I guess maybe you would, because you guys are here, you've done it. But in like 2 weeks, you can make some serious efforts. If you were to just do it for 30 minutes a day, you'll break a sweat. What you want to do is get to the place where you're breaking a sweat, right? Where it's your heart rate's up. Past the breaking a sweat is where you actually see the burning happen. That's after 30 minutes, you usually see some real fat burning going on. But if all you have is an apartment, walk in place, you'd be shocked to know in 30 minutes, or walk some stairs if you have a house, you'll be shocked to know how much progress you can make consistently every day, just for 30 minutes, hitting that, watch TV, listen to a podcast, whatever you got to do, stare out the window, whatever you got to do, or go to your gym, whatever you have around you. But 30 minutes every single day, if you're consistent with that, that adds up. And you're going to notice that your body, first of all, your blood is starting to move, which is why we want the water to have minerals in it, because now we're transporting all this oxygen and these mineral content, nutrition to parts of the body who haven't seen it in a very long time.
Yes.
So you want to start adding in those minerals, so your body's like breathing in internally all of this brand new goodness. So exercise, walking is exercise. Exercise is walking. And if you like to jump rope, you can jump rope. That's 10 minutes jumping rope is actually better. It's actually, when I say better, you can do more good in your body in 10 minutes than 30 minutes of walking or running.
I love jumping rope.
Yep. Jumping rope, rebounding. Have you heard of that?
It's not easy anymore.
Yes, it's true.
Like when you're a kid, you know, but I do like it. I was doing 75 hard a couple of years ago, and you know, you got to exercise twice a day and all of this. And I was traveling to Richmond actually, and I had to, you know, pull over to the rest area. I'm like, okay, I got to get this. So I brought my jump rope, because I'm like, oh, that's something I can do right there under the light, and did my jump rope. People were looking at me and they were like, oh, that's cool. And did my thing. And then, you know, took a break and got back on the road. So yeah, you can do it almost anywhere.
And that's the other thing, is the anywhere factor is what's going to make you break through. So what we're talking about is, have you ever heard of office butt?
No,
I haven't, but I imagine I know what it means.
So there's this everybody's talking about office butt right now. To avoid office butt, you literally, your body starts to take
nobody in my community is talking about it, but we will talk about it on Thursday.
Exactly.
Please ask for us.
About it right after this.
But if your butt is starting to flatten out, your thighs, your butt starting to flatten out from all that sitting, you just don't get
Yes.
up. That's called office butt. But to be fair, drivers have it too, like truck drivers and
Yeah.
shared drivers, shared space drivers. I forget what it's called.
Mhm.
Uber, that kind of thing. To start to hammer that, you can actually do squats every 45 minutes. Do about 20 squats, 10 to 20 squats. If you can manage that, you can completely demolish the idea of a office butt ever coming.
I would say too when
You're
you
like,
go walking.
Yeah,
do some right now.
yeah.
Right.
You feel like, oh, am my butt flat? I got to do some squats.
I would say the funny thing is like sometimes I had a friend of mine years ago, and I said I should have done this when she was doing it years ago. Of a Saturday night, we've already had Vespers or somewhere at their house. We're watching something, and sometimes it may be commercials. She would in the commercial break, she'd either do crunches or she'd do squats. I mean, she looks great now. I think she's 50 now, and but she consistently did that. So I find myself too sometimes if I'm in the house, I go stand by my sofa, kind of doing these holding on, but I do these leg lifts with my leg going back because I'm like, that lifts your butt. I need to do that.
There you go.
And I also have the Shape Up, I think Skechers Shape Up sneakers where you're walking and it's almost giving you a little extra lift.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see a difference too. So, but yeah, I didn't, that office butt thing, we're going to talk about that on WhatsApp, Lorraine. It's a thing. I've seen it. I didn't know that was the phrase.
I've been at the gym. I mean, I go to the gym pretty regularly. And I do like the leg press, and I do squats too, but sometimes if my knee can hurt sometimes, so I do leg press, or even the angled ones where you're pressing up.
Yes.
And so that has my butt actually looks really good when it did in the so actually. So, and I do I am at the desk a lot, so I had to, I didn't know what I was counteracting, but now I'm being
now
more,
you
more
put a name to
determined.
it.
Yes.
Okay, Justin, we're having a great time. We do need to start wrapping up, so I just want to make sure you get in those last, I don't know what number we're on at this point, but the thing that you think is the most important that you want to share.
So I guess the most important thing is movement. That's the most, because you have to have the exercise is good too, but the success is made in the kitchen. Squats, anything you do with your legs creates movement, and it's big muscle groups. So the big muscle groups, here's the important thing. Why are we so obsessed with building muscle? Is it so we look good?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Let's be honest. We are being honest.
We are being honest.
We tell the truth. But also, muscle is where insulin goes. That's where you have got to build muscle to make. If you can think of, the more muscle you have, the more insulin sensitive you become. The more insulin sensitive you become, the less diabetes symptoms you have, the less insulin resistance. Absolutely. And
okay,
of course,
for real. Like, I know that they always say muscle burns fat better, faster, whatever, but I never understood why that was.
Right.
Yes.
I remember the health seminar years ago too. A gentleman was saying, walk 30 minutes. If you just do 30 minutes of walking, it produces 5 units of insulin. For those who are like insulin resistance or couldn't get it, rather than, because he would help people. I don't know if you remember Brother Luke Lorraine, who once they changed their eating and health diet, they got off of they were no longer diabetic, and they got off of the insulin medicine because your bodies are producing it just for 30 minutes of walking.
Yes.
So now you explain why. Oh my gosh.
I wish we had more time, because this is where I start to light up. But just so you know, you have the cell, and the insulin has 2 jobs: feed the cell, which is to give you energy, and to store fat, right? So remember I was telling you about my issue. I couldn't build muscle. I felt all this like whatever. That's because I was in insulin resistance. The way I know that is because I had midsection weight gain, which is a signal. It's a red flag, as I call it in my book. Dunlap is a red flag. My belly done lapped over my belt. Insulin. So insulin resistance, not a good look, right?
Not a good look.
Whenever you're insulin resistance, your cells are not taking in nutrition. They're not no amino acids, which is muscle building. That's the protein. No electrolytes. There's no proteins. None of this is going inside the cell. So you're starving yourself, and you don't even know it because you have too much insulin. This is for diabetes type 2 type folk. But when you start to create muscle, now your insulin can go unlock the cell, and it's like more than happy to take in the sugars. Otherwise, insulin resistance is when your cells just stay on lockdown.
Right.
Sugar flows freely, insulin flows freely, it causes all kinds of damage throughout the blood. So movement, yes, you're burning off the sugar, but you have to burn off the blood sugar first. And then the stored sugar, which is, again, the other job of insulin, stored as fat, that's when it can attack the fat, not just the ones you can see, but around your organs, because that's where it's going. It's going into the muscle, and it's going into your liver. Fatty liver is what's going to cause fatty liver, and a lot of the stress is actually translating that sugar into fat, putting that spread around your midsection, trying to protect you. That's what it's meant to do. But otherwise, that's a bad look. But the more muscle you build, the farther out of insulin resistance you can come. And the more you do that, all the symptoms of high blood pressure, everything goes away. That's why and there's one other thing. There's one other bonus to building muscle. Your muscle is attached to your bone. And your body is very clever. If you don't use it, you lose it. So especially with women, what happens is as you start to age, you start moving as much. That's just how it goes. Put on more weight. And then, of course, if your nutrition is bad, you're losing a lot of nutrients, which means your bones are going to start breaking down, osteoporosis, osteopenia. They become either soft or brittle. So what you've got to do is train your body to build more muscle. The more muscle you build, the stronger your bones become. When your muscle becomes strong, your bones become strong because you're putting tension and resistance on those muscles, on those joints, on those bones.
Wow.
Is this making sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. Okay, I want to ask a bonus question, and you're frozen for some reason. We can still hear you though.
Okay, I thought it was me. I was like, what happened?
That was me too.
How does this play out, or does it at all for someone who might have type 1 diabetes? Can you talk about that? Because not enough people talk about this as it relates to type 1, and it almost feels like people are running away, and you just kind of have to just deal with whatever you deal with, and that's just it.
And that to me is sad, because we kind of leave them out in the cold saying, oh, it's just like this forever. In my experience, what I've noticed is type 1 and type 2. Type 2, of course, you have too much insulin. Type 1, you don't make enough. But what you have to do is you're on insulin, yes. But here's the thing about type 1 and their insulin. If you eat, or you can actually become a type 2 that becomes type 1. I don't know if you knew that, but you can blow your pancreas out and become a type 1 diabetic after long abuse.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
But it's scary, but you got to get ahead of it, because it takes decades for it to happen. But if you get ahead of it, you can stop it. But what you need to do as a type 1 diabetic is you need to still eat pretty close to a non-carbohydrate diet, because that's going to lower your requirement for insulin, because you can still go into insulin resistance if you're eating like Oreos, and I don't know why I keep saying Oreos, but
that's a thorn for me.
Oh, I must be picking up on you. But it's the sugar snacks. Okay, we're back.
Yes.
Yay.
Whether it's the sugary stuff, everything like this. If you're still eating that and saying I'm a type 1 diabetic, and you have to set the amount of insulin you put back into. So you have whatever sugar you eat, you have to bring it down. All you're doing is taking fake insulin and putting it into your bloodstream. So you can reduce the amount of insulin you need by still following these same concepts. It's the same exact way. You'll still have to rely on something. Like, say, for instance, you have your thyroid removed. You're going to be relying on that forever. The thyroxine, or whatever it's called.
Yes,
but
that's me.
It's okay. So you have to take it. But if you
every day
treat your body with the right amounts of nutrients and everything, you won't have to take as much. Or whenever you go back every 3-6 months, your doctor's not going to say, oh, we're going to have to pump that up. We're going to pump it up some more. And it's just never going to end until, unfortunately, it gets to your stents when it gets removed.
Yeah.
But after that, you have to look at the full chain. So there's a whole thing I like to show, a diagram. But it's not just the thyroid. It's the adrenals. It's the kidneys and liver. It's It's
Mhm.
the pituitary. There's a chain of communication going on.
Mhm.
And when you start to eat better, fasting, those kinds of things, and of course, just eliminating sugar altogether, are the things that trigger all these. And that's the sad thing about it. Whenever here's the truth of it. Whenever they say you have a bad thyroid, it's not the bad thyroid. In my experience, it's the liver, because that's where your thyroid stimulating hormone gets converted. They
Mhm.
don't look at the liver, they look at the organ, which is the thyroid,
Mhm.
and they completely bypass what's going on with the liver.
Mm.
If there's a fatty liver, you're going to have a lot more problems, and you interrupt that cycle of thyroid stimulating hormone being converted. So I don't have enough time to talk about that, but that's a big one.
Yes.
But in that case, you just want to, if the healthier you eat, the less of dependency
Mhm.
you'll have on the medication. You may
Mhm.
not be off of it completely, but you can still reduce your dependency on it, which preserves
Yeah.
your other organs.
Which is essentially that's true about every single thing we could bring
Yes.
up. You know.
Right.
You know,
Right.
coming out, y'all know, coming out the fast, I'm on a mild blood pressure medicine that started this year. I was really stressed at a job, but then I also noticed, just in general, I know we were eating out a lot more because of our schedules. And so my doctor's like, well, it's not too bad, but I want to keep you on something because I don't want, your family history. You don't have that. Long story short, even within the 48 hours of the fast, I took my medicine. I was feeling crazy. By like day 4, I think I gave me a text Justin. I was like, I'm at the emergency room because I felt like I was sleeping, but I felt like I was drifting, like about to faint. And I literally was, because my blood pressure had regulated just from
Mhm.
the fast and eating the DGVs, dark green vegetables, which at first, Justin, I thought you said BGVs. The music person in me was like, why does he need background vocals? I don't get background vocals. Okay. But
Oh my goodness.
You need someone cheering you on while you're doing it.
Yeah. You have your own choir.
it's like, okay, Justin.
Oh my goodness.
But within like day 4,
Mhm.
like I was like, because I still took it just because I'm like, well, I'm doing this, but let me not. And they were still trying to regulate it. She had just changed it maybe the week prior to the fast. But my body, within like the 48 hours of just cold turkey and then eating the healthy stuff and not a lot of sodium and all those things, and still using my pink Himalayan salt, regulated to where I was in the ER and taking it. I was like down in the 90s over something. And they were like, what are you doing? And I told them. And at first they were like, well, you don't need to starve yourself. I said, I'm not starving myself, but I'm detoxing my body, shocking it, and now putting the good stuff back in. And so, of course, the ER doctor's like, well, I don't want to, do something different than what your primary care did, but you don't need, you should not take this until you see them. And just the shifting, like I said, the walking daily, the drinking my water,
Yes.
saying no to DoorDash, prepping my food more, cooking more at home. It's like it made the difference. My numbers are good, and so I can attest to just making that shift, because I didn't have high blood pressure beforehand, and also my husband let me quit that job too. That was stressing me out. So that shift, the walking, I encourage you to do it outside too, because then you kind of get your vitamin D as well.
That's right.
And seeing the trees and stuff help with my brain, and it's also in stress and relieving stress, and just being in nature more with God, and getting the fresh air helped. And I thought I really couldn't sweat, but I started breaking the sweat, and I was loving it.
That's so good. That's so
good. So
Justin needs to start an Uber DGB business so that they deliver.
I actually do deliver. I actually do. I don't know if I told you. That's how I had to pivot my business back in 2020, 2024. I started delivering smoothies around all of Georgia.
Are you serious?
I did.
You're supposed to move here.
I got to broaden my horizons.
Yeah, that's how I met you. You were supposed to be moving here, and then it would have been perfect.
It's still a possibility, by the way.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that would be so cool if you could, even if we could just order them and have them, delivered through whatever.
That's it removes a huge obstacle, because it's. I mean, I can't even describe it, because I know how I feel. I feel like I'm overselling the thing, but you understand how it feels to have it on tap, to have those DVVs, to just rush your body.
I'd love to have it on tap. Just
Exactly.
Oh yes.
Life would be a dream.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
One thing that I did that did help, and something that I'll share with you offline, but one thing was that I did create those freezer bags of everything was just in there,
Yes.
and I just had to dump it and go. I mean, it doesn't take long, but it removes a barrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you're running late, like if I go to the gym too late and I get back now, I feel like I need to get to work or whatever. It removes the barrier of I don't have time. And
Yes.
all you have to do is put the milk and the frozen stuff, and then just
Yeah.
you'll be good to go. But if I could just pull it out the refrigerator and be like, yeah, then I would.
There it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think yours probably tastes better than mine, though I did kind of come up with
That's
something
what everybody tells me.
that tastes pretty good. So,
Yes, make sure your avocado is ripe, and you take the lemon seeds out. I didn't do that the first time. I did cord my apple, but I didn't take the lemon seeds out. I rushed the avocado because avocado could be chilling on the counter and then dead the next day. So I rushed it, but it tastes better when it's right and you take the lemon seeds out. And for those who are watching too, that may have have a family at home and they're not going to be a part of the buy-in, or you have family who. Like when we first started, I had birthday parties and stuff happening that first week that I was just like, what are y'all doing to me? Why do you have this pizza in here? Trust and believe when you make up your mind, and like Justin said, putting God in the fight, you say to your family, you're committed. I want, I'm doing this so I can be a healthier me, to be a better wife, a better mom. They will get on board too. And if that means hey, I didn't, you didn't want to make your kids necessarily suffer. Say because I know we do pizza one night a week. Well, rather than having it in, my husband took them out for that if they were going to do it. The other thing was they said, okay, Mom, we're going to join you in the fast. We're not going to go so hard, as far as we're not eating nothing, but they're like, we're going to do smoothies for these 48 hours and we're going to give up chips and cookies and all these things. So they were part of, and these were children. They all got, they became part of the buy-in. Because they love me. They want to see me be healthy, but I also want them to get the tools they need so that they're not struggling with a lot of these things as they get older. Because to be able to just go walking and not have your knee ache and do the things you like to do, it starts the better they can get these tools early on, it's better for them later on. Getting them
a habit. It's a habit for them as children versus trying to create a habit after you're 30, 40, 50 years old. And it's a game changer.
Yes.
Generational health is what I call it.
Yes. Big time.
Early.
All right, Justin, wrap us up. Tell us what you want to tell us.
All right. So
we could talk to you for 3 more hours, but
I got lots of content.
The way to go.
I got so much content. But so the rules are simple. It's the golden rules just help you get started. But if there's anything that you need help with, I'm definitely here as your coach. I like to start with a 6-week plan because 6 weeks is like really training your body. Every 30 days or so, you have new cells. That's why I have a 6-week program that gets you into the first 2 weeks of that transition. And the next 4 weeks are really going in. So I'm doing a group coaching, 6-week group coaching. If you guys are interested, click the link right here. What we will discover is how to stay, as Juanita was saying, you're going to learn how to get out of inflammation. You're going to do it. It's just going to happen in the first week or two. How to stay out of it, how to keep those pounds up, how to keep your shrunk waist shrunk, how to stay out of pain, and learn about the rhythm. That's what I like to call it. Is 2 weeks is cool. That's a way to experience it. But every 2 weeks we do the same thing, and your body starts to understand the rhythm. 90 days is even better, especially if you have hormonal issues. You give your body a rhythm to follow, and now you're in control instead of your body just controlling you, saying I'm hungry, and you just grab whatever's close by, or at work, or like you said, special occasions. If you want to have them, it's because you decided I'm going to have a fun night, and then you get back on schedule. It's the 80-20 principle. 80% of the time you do what's best for you, building that house, the temple. 20% of the time or less, whatever is good for you, that's when you live your life. It's not a diet. None of this is diet stuff. Diet is there are pieces of it that you eat, which is a diet, but it's not a diet plan. This is a training to get you, and it helps when you have a bunch of people around you to see how they're also adapting to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And once you start to see it differently, the paradigm shifts in your mind. You're like, okay, now that I've gotten this down, I want to share this with others. That's how I know I've done my job properly. Is once you start to tell everybody about it, because it's like, why doesn't people know about this? Everybody should know how easy this is.
I
Yeah.
was telling everybody, like I
Yeah.
literally was telling everybody. And I, you know, for those of you who don't know, we started a community from the book. And actually we're going to talk about that next week. Ebony's coming. We're going to talk about the community next week. So you definitely don't want to miss that episode. But there's, I think, about maybe 14 of us in the community. And we did this with not everybody, but most people did it with Justin for the 14-day kickoff. And I think it was definitely helped to have the accountability. I had met Justin several months before that, and he'd worked with me, but people were seeing the impact, and they were just like, okay, what are you doing? What's going on with that? Like, how's this happening?
Yes.
All of a
you
sudden,
gotta
right?
call Justin. You gotta call Justin. I'm like, I can't tell you how many people I've texted your number to, and I don't know that they've called you, but people have to make their own decisions at some point. But I really do value and believe in what Justin is doing, and just his approach, because he really cares about helping people.
Yeah.
And, so the link is in the chat if you want to just be a part of a group coaching program, and he'll give you all the costs, I guess, when you all talk. But the link is there. You can click on it now and open the tab so you don't forget, but don't leave us quite yet. We're about to wrap up here. But also want to remind you or tell you that we are going to go backstage after we end the stream. Justin's going to stick around with us for a little while. So if you have any specific questions that you want to ask Justin now, before you even get on a call with him, you can click the link that is also that's also starred in the chat. The Afterwise link, you can come back and ask Justin some questions, and then just get some guidance from him right directly. Justin, I'm going to give you another final word if you want to share before we wrap up here.
Yeah. The times we're living in, someone's going to tell you how to live your life, or you're going to decide how you're going to live your life. And God has put it in a book called the Bible, how to do this. It's from Babylon times to our time. We can take it into our own hands by just living very simply, not living like those around us, but living like children of God. And if you don't know what that means, speak with someone about it. What it means to really defy, it's an act of defiance, it's an act of revolution to eat your way into health these days versus relying on a system that doesn't have your best in mind. So trusting God, it does work. Put yourself around people that believe it, and tell everybody that you're doing it so you get that support as well.
Yes.
And you're moving in faith when you do that. But I'm here for you. I'm here to answer questions anytime. Free consultations. I do payment plans also, so you don't have to stress about the money. Think of it as an education, not so much something you have to pay for, but it's an education. You're investing in your future, and this pays back so much more. So look forward to meeting you.
All right. 3 John 1:2, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers. John's saying it to Gaius, but God is meaning it for all of us.
Right.
That everybody knows this is a faith-based podcast, a Christian-based podcast, but and we want your spiritual health to be on point, but we also want every other part of your health, your financial health, we talked about that, your physical health, talking about that today, and your relational health. We want you to make wise choices in all of those things. God wants all of you
Amen.
All of you. And the reality is, when you feel good, there's a demonstration of joy that is hard. It's harder to portray and manifest when you don't feel good, you know, and it's harder to really be thinking about, there's some just special, unique people who do this anyway, but to think about others people's needs and to think about sharing God's word and to do all of the things that God is, and even living your purpose when you don't have health, it's just a struggle. And so God says, I don't just want you to know me and know the Bible. Knowing me means knowing that the temple belongs to me, and your money belongs to me, and your marriage belongs to me, and your dating belongs to me. And so you can be wise in all areas of health, and you can start living your best life today. If you are interested in do that, then meet us backstage and talk to Justin, because he's awesome. Thank you, Justin, so much. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And I say this all the time about Justin. It was absolutely God ordained that we met.
Crazy.
Yes.
Our meeting was just
Yes.
wouldn't, if it wasn't for God, it just wouldn't have happened. And so I have been tremendously blessed by you, and all of the people in the community have been blessed. And we intend to have many more people blessed and just spread the word.
Right.
So, Onita, thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
GV's got you all jazzed up and back with us today. And so we're having DGVs, yeah. I always have to say it again in my head, like dark green, yeah. Okay. And so we're excited. Meet us backstage when we end this live. Hit that link. We look forward to talking to you. And until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless.